Gents, I just want to pause the episode for a moment to let you know about the Strong Men of Value Academy. You will have heard me refer to it a number of times, and I want to bring more attention to it. So this isn't just a program, it's a life-changing environment and community of men who are focused on personal and professional growth. We're looking at areas of relationships, wealth, and health, things to help you thrive and maximize your life. Imagine having bi-monthly one-on-one coaching sessions with myself, weekly group coaching calls, and an incredible brotherhood of high achievers by your side. Now we're diving into resilience, leadership, and holistic growth to not just succeed in your career, but to thrive in your health and your relationships. Your journey to greatness, it starts here. So join the movement and you can apply for the Strong Men of Value Academy. You can head to themanthatcanproject.com to find out more. On today's episode, Taylor Sheridan joins me. Taylor is a singer-songwriter, and he started his career as a young teenager in rural Victoria and describes his music as soulfully acoustic with influences of varying from Stevie Wonder all the way to James Taylor. I've been fortunate to know Taylor for a few years now, and it's been incredible. And a few years ago, he shared a post about his own challenges with mental health, and I've been following him closely ever since. And recently, he released a song called When the Demons Come, and it's about his experience and really helping him to put into words how he felt at his lowest point. Incredible song, but even more incredible getting to hear what it was really like for him. We also discuss why it's important to surround yourself with genuine people, why it's important to understand what you value, okay, why we want to get to you to a point where you can stand up for yourself, because, you know, when you can stand up for yourself, or stand up to yourself, for yourself, you're able to forgive yourself. So there are various other things that we talk about, you know, getting back the power to breathe again. So, guys, if you're tuning in for the first time, please like, subscribe, and share these episodes. We will be giving away one free breakthrough experience. It's valued at $597. So if you want to find out more about the breakthrough experience, head over to the Man That Can Project website. So themanthatcanproject.com/breakthrough experience. And you can read what it's about. It's an incredible program that has changed many men's lives, and you can get that for free. All you need to do is share some of your favorite episodes on your Instagram, tag at Lachlan Stuart and at the Man That Can Project. Every time you're sharing it, you're getting a ticket into the draw, and that will be drawn June 24th.
You're listening to the Man That Can Project with Lachie Stuart, a global movement created to empower men and open up what's really going through their minds by having real and raw conversations about life's unique challenges and our individual ways of processing it all. Welcome to the Man That Can Project.
Welcome back to another episode of the Man That Can Projects podcast. I'm the founder and host, Lachie Stuart, and today I've got an incredible guest from Melbourne joining us. And apparently I've given him his first compliment in a long time, but mate, you look incredible over the other end there. So today's guest, Taylor Sheridan. Mate, you're a musician. You're an incredible person. And one thing that I really love about you is you speak openly from the heart, and you let that obviously come out in your words from writing incredible music. And for those who haven't heard Taylor's music, I will be talking about a bit of it today and the lyrics that go behind it, but also I'll redirect you with links and upcoming shows and everything like that. But you started your career as a young teenager in rural Victoria. Are you still based in rural Victoria? Are you in the hustle and bustle now in Melbourne?
No, I'm still in. Well, thanks for having me first off, Lachie. But I am living in rural Victoria. I'm only living about 20 minutes from where I was born, which is a little town called Kyneton on the Calder Freeway. And, it's one of those places that I find that people don't particularly leave because it is so small. There is a pretty great community, and, everyone knows your grandparents and your parents. And I have moved to a place called Gisborne, and it's just a little closer to the airport, but it's still got that, that community feel, which is something that is pretty important to me.
That's awesome. Why is the community important to you? It's something it's important to me as well. And one of the things that we aim to do now, we've got extended community through all the listeners to the podcast. We have about 20,000 people tune in every month from all around the world, which is awesome to have that extended community. But then obviously our close-knit community, which includes our family and mates and everything like that. So why is it important for you?
Well, 20,000 people listening, that's a little bit more than Kyneton. That's a little bit more than where I grew up. But it's important to me because I think I know the value of having people that like genuinely have your back, and people that have your best interests. They know your story. It's not quite as I've never felt overly judged there. I feel safe. I can go to Melbourne, I can go to Sydney, and I can go and play music, and then come home and literally wear my UGG boots into Woolies, and it's fine. I think, to be honest, seeing the way that like my parents are valued there, the older that I've got, it's made me be a little bit more self-aware that it's not particularly about me. It's about what my parents have done for that community. And I was just lucky enough to be accepted because of them. And obviously, you've got to have those values to keep, to have a good name around town and all those sorts of things. But I think it's more based on my previous family members.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And you speak about genuine people, and it's something that I think we can definitely lose sight of. And I think instinctively, most of us have that good feeling around people we believe to be genuine. And obviously, similar to you, when I moved to the bigger city of Brisbane, which is small in comparison to Melbourne, I found it really hard to build those genuine relationships. And that could have been my own challenges, but I always felt like, people just always wanted to be around you if they could get something from you. And if they didn't really want to get to know you. And, every time we go out to the country or even back to my hometown, people are so friendly, and they make the time to really ask good questions and get to know you on a personal level. And they don't necessarily judge you for wearing Uggies in the supermarket, because I'm all about doing that, but it's sort of frowned upon in the city. So like, how do you sort of, I guess, identify genuine people for you, especially obviously as your music career's taken off, and you've probably got more people, especially as you do shows and tours and everything like that. Like, you meet hundreds and thousands of people. Like, how do you sort of filter through to what you feel is genuine?
That is a great question, and something that the older that I've got, the more I think about, because naively growing up in a small country town, you just kind of expect everyone to have the same values as you. And I don't think I ever had a discussion with my parents or anyone really that like maybe there aren't people that you want to associate with. It was just like, just give everyone the benefit of the doubt. Like, everyone's got goodness in them. See that. So naively, I sort of did a head first into my adult life, and sometimes it's paid off. The older I've got, the more that I'm aware that you do have to sift. You do have to sift those people, because like, as much as you don't think it does, like the energy that you've got around you and the people that you've got around you is so important and so influential to who you are, and to how you act. I think who you are is always kind of the core, and you definitely know your own morals and stuff. But when you're around people that don't necessarily align with that sort of stuff, you can definitely, that voice in your head, you can just go shh, like. And I have a real complex of people not liking me, so that sucks too, because like, it took me a little while to actually be like, I can go into a room, just be myself, and hopefully that's enough. I feel like that may be maybe a bit of a result from being a performer. You've got to be pretty agile in in situations, and you go on stage, especially when you're relatively unknown. You go on a stage going like, who are you? And you've just got 45 to an hour to make people like you.
Yeah.
And we kind of our careers grow from being likable. So to answer your question, it's only until my late 20s that I've sort of figured out that the people that you hang out with are really, really influential to the energy that you put out as well. And it's a hard one. It's a real hard one. You kind of got to go with your gut. But the country boy in me kind of wants to trust everyone and give everyone the benefit of the doubt.
100%. I think there's probably pros and cons to that, right? And I loved where you said like you got to sift through and find the right people, but it's also you want to give the benefit of the doubt, because more often than not, especially in the social media thing, and even look at Tinder, where people just do everything off face value. It's like a swiping sort of process, and we don't ever give people the opportunity. And you might say from what someone said about people probably have opinions of me, and if you get the right person, they might say I'm a legend. If you get what I would say is a wrong person, they might think I'm an absolute douchebag. And if you do
100%,
you take that, you never really get to understand or learn from those people. But there was a post I saw, obviously you were playing a show recently in one of your songs, When the Demon Came. There's a part where it says, be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle, and sort of tying that into what you were saying there, and being able to sift as much as off face value, they might share the same values, and you may look at them and go, no, I don't want to be around them. It's, from, I guess, where I like to take things is it's important to understand what they're going through, because if you can really understand them, you can tick that box and go, yep, complete douche. I don't want to spend it. They're not the right person to hang around. Or you might find out that there is some underlying stuff going on that maybe you might be the person that allows them to have the conversation they need to change their life as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because with the whole sifting process, it is difficult because you don't know what everyone is going through. And when I wrote that song that you're talking about now, When the Demons Come, I feel like I was at my lowest. And it was probably because there was a bit of a change in my circle, and there was a bit of a change in I don't know, I kind of got to like my early 20s and just thought, well, I'm a good guy, so now for the rest of my life nothing bad's going to happen to me. Naive country boy stuff, because you just don't talk like, you kind of, I was definitely raised, and the thought process was, if you're a good person, good things happen to you. I didn't know, and it still sort of baffles me a little bit. I didn't know that you can still put your best foot forward and things don't fall your way, and people may not see that side of you that you're trying to present. And I definitely had to figure out, there was some people that I was hanging out with that I sort of had to, I guess, had to sift through and go, right, like, not that I thought they were bad people at all. I don't think anyone's 100% bad, but I knew that the stuff that was going on was like, it made my anxiety levels go up. It made my heart rate sort of beat in a way that wasn't, it wasn't beating to live. It was kind of beating out of fear, sometimes. And and for the situation, it probably sounds a little bit dramatic, but it was true. I was like, I was more set on being the most liked person rather than being the most likable person.
Yeah.
And man, that when I found, when I started, figuring out that it was time to move on from certain things, that's actually sort of when things started unraveling for me, like some of my deep ingrained beliefs from a kid, and things that I was so petrified of ever seeing. That's when I started probably spiraling a little bit in my own life, and that's when I wrote that particular song, When the Demons Come, because all of a sudden I was trying to do the best thing for me by cutting this energy away. And for some reason, all this stuff was happening for my self-esteem and anxiety and my view on myself. Like I kind of like started beginning to think that like maybe I am like a piece of shit. Like maybe like why would I do this to these people, you know? So it was a really tough time, and that's when I wrote that song. And it actually took me 12 months to write because I wanted to get it exactly right. I would get up every day, and the first lyric that come to my mind was, "When the demons come and they're just no fun, but I'll greet them anyway." Because I was like, I got to a point where I felt so defeated that I was like, if this is my life forever, if I have this negative self-talk every minute of the day and I can't escape it, how can I view it differently?
Oh, man.
Now,
sorry, you go.
Yeah. So that no. So that was kind of, and then writing the rest of the song was really difficult because like, sometimes I'd wake up like really agitated, and the lyrics would be just like really blunt and really like, you know, this sucks and why is this happening to me and why am I unraveling at almost 30? What's going on with that? You know, and then some days I'd wake up really sad and some days you'd wake up really angry with the situation. But the same thing, the same core was there. Why is this happening to me when I'm putting out good energy? I thought I was putting out good energy. And so I think I wrote a lyric in that song called "You're only here when I'm low and you're busy when I'm high." That changed the game for me because that was when I was like, okay, when I'm low and when I believe these voices in my head that I am a piece of shit and all these sort of things, that's when they're thriving. When I'm on stage and I'm in my zone, or I'm there sitting on a date with like my beautiful girlfriend, they're gone. They're not putting in there. They're not saying like, man, your life's kicking ass. You know, you're a legend. They only thrived in the moments where I was not doing the things that I should be doing.
It's so interesting. And you said earlier, like it felt like it was unraveling when you were sort of distancing from certain people in your life. Do you feel like being around those people was almost like holding you to a false sense of confidence maybe, or a false sense of understanding of yourself? And the moment that you started peeling back those essential layers, you started realizing that obviously, you know, you started questioning, why am I doing this? And those thoughts came in, but it was also like, well, now it's really unraveling. I need to rebuild and understand who I am as a person.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, I use this analogy because something happened a couple of weeks ago. A guy that I went to high school with messaged me, and he was only at our school for 2 years, and he got pretty heavily picked on. And like, I grew up I was a singer in high school. Man, that ain't cool. Like, especially the stuff that I was like, it wasn't like I was doing like heavy metal and stuff. Like, they were the cool kids. They were like, oh man, at least they're the band guys. I was like this, kind of like an awkward singer, play guitar to kind of try and get a little bit of coolness. And I remember this one guy got picked on pretty heavily, and I hadn't spoken to him. I think about him often, actually. And he messaged me on Facebook the other day and was like, hey man, my girlfriend like tagged me in your music because you're playing in our town. Can't believe you're still doing it. You know, I'm so proud that you followed your dreams. And the guilt instantly that I never said anything to those bullies and never stuck up for him makes me feel like shit every time I think about it. And I was like, hey man, I'm going to let's chat, let's catch up. And he was just like, oh, I just wanted to sort of message you and let you know, that's cool. And I'm sure he's done his own thing. He's engaged now and all these sorts of things. But I thought it's kind of the exact same thing as happening when I was 27, 28, when I started distancing myself from that energy. It was exactly the same. I've been quiet for so long because nothing bad's happening to you, like, because it's not directly happening to you. It was exactly the same as being 15 and being scared shitless of not talking to those bullies. Just because they're your mates doesn't mean that they're not bullies. It doesn't. It may not be directly at you, and you may not see it, but like saying nothing is just as bad as inflicting the pain, if not worse, because the guilt. At least you've got something to work on and go like, I often think that if you hurt someone, if you physically hurt someone, if you punch someone or whatever, you've got something to work on. Oh, maybe I've got a bad temper, and I've really got to check that. And when you don't say anything, and when you're just a bystander, it's like, do I have a backbone? Like, how do I? What can I do to improve that? There's not a great deal. There's not a class that you can take, or it's just like a hell of a lot of self-reflection of like, do you want to be that person that sees someone get beaten up, or do you want to just stand there and cop a punch for them? And, 15 years later, you'd be proud of yourself. Maybe not in the moment. You might have a bruised eye and maybe tail between your legs, but 15 years later, you'd be sitting there going, yeah, I did the right thing.
100%.
So I guess that's the same as distancing myself with negative people later on in life. It's like, this feels like crap now, but I know that when I eventually bring kids into the world or set an example, or what sort of energy do I give, and what sort of legacy will you leave? And that's it. I mean, as far as like, it doesn't seem that important when you talk about legacy, but it is. To me, it is anyway.
Yeah, well, it's aligning with your values, right? And a big reason why a lot of us experience shame and guilt is because we're going against essentially what we value at our core, right? And one of the things that you sort of touched on that you valued was like, you want to stand up for people when things are obviously going against them, just out of character, right? That's like a character trait, and a lot of people have it. Like, a lot of people carry. I've had shame and guilt for so many things that I'd done. But the beautiful thing is, if we identify the shame, it's because we genuinely care. And if we had the opportunity to do things differently, we would. But where I believe, we're unfortunate as a society, and as especially children growing up, we aren't taught to understand and recognize what our core values are, or our core traits. And if things aren't at the forefront of our mind, it's hard to work towards it, right? As kids, we're generally working towards getting good grades, trying to get to university or whatever it is. Like, that's where our focus goes. So everything else that's happening in our life is happening, but there's not much intention behind why it happened, or the legacy that we can be, ultimately leaving forward. But like, had you not had that experience, Taylor, like, you wouldn't be sitting here now going, fuck, I had, shame and guilt around that because of the way I acted, but I guarantee you'll never do that again.
And it's really interesting that you say that, because it's like, you can definitely have those values, but like, if you don't act upon them, they're no good to you. Like, I had all these values. I know my values. I'm really aware of my value system, and but like, if you don't put them into practice and you actually don't act on them, they're just words, and that's probably why I disappointed myself the most. Yep. Because I knew, I definitely know what I stand for, and what I believe and what I don't believe. But yeah, when you're not using them, I think I carried a bit of shame just even with that. Like, it's just like, man, you're way better than this. Like, you've got a heart that like cares, but when you care about the people around you, and why aren't you putting these things into practice?
Do you think because you needed to start with yourself first at that point in time?
Oh, dude, without a doubt. Like, I think I just expected to be okay without even like asking myself the question ever. I was just like, you're a good guy. You've got not that many. I perceive myself as a good guy, whatever that means. I want to, I look after my friends. I feel like I'm a good son, all these sorts of things. But then when it starts unraveling, it's just like, what is going on? If I truly believe that, and you need those, I think now I needed that experience, even though I thought it was so unfair for so long. You need something to challenge you on thinking that. Now, not challenge you in a way of thinking like I'm a bad person and I need to start acting. It's more like, what are you prepared to do on behalf of your values? And at that time, I was prepared to be silent and not say anything, to be liked and to fit in with people that didn't have the same value system as me. Now, that sounds pretty gutless, in my opinion. And that is not what I want it to be. I want it to be someone that, like, no, this is what I believe in. And yeah, maybe a couple of mates drop off. Maybe I'm not going to have 1,000 people at my funeral one day being like, man, that guy was so great. But I'm going to have 5 people that are going to be like, yeah, man, he's at least, he stood for something that he cared about. And so I think going back, it's more like I just wasn't prepared to act on any of my values at the time. And that was where the unraveling started, I think.
Yeah. And most of it, like, you've probably heard the same, we can only love others to the extent that we love ourselves. And that probably goes in, we can only care for others to the extent that we care for ourselves, et cetera, and whether it's stick up for or protect. And that sort of highlights the work that a lot of us miss out on. I know for a long period of my life, I can resonate to what you just shared then, because there's many, I hung out with the cool footy guys, but I was bullied by them 2 years prior when I was a skateboarder, but I wanted to fit in. I wanted to be liked. So I changed who I was to fit in. And then I saw picking on people who were exactly like I was, and I didn't do anything. I just sat there because I was fucking glad I wasn't the one getting picked on. But now you look further forward and you're like, I wish I had said something, because if I was, if I changed myself to that point, I could have changed changed other people earlier, or helped with those sorts of things. So there's definitely opportunity to do that. But I know also what you're doing now is inspiring. As you said, that guy reached out to you off the back of hearing your music and seeing that you're still pursuing what you love, which is inspiring in itself. So even though it wasn't directly doing it in the way you wanted to, you're still indirectly having a positive impact on that. But let's dive into the song a bit more, When the Demons Come. It's an absolute cracker. And I was trying to work out, because I can actually play it through here. I was going to play a little snippet, but I don't know whether Spotify and Apple would block it, because they normally do that.
Good on them.
Yeah, they'd hit me up for bloody copyright. And I'm like, come on, man.
We'll have to do a GoFundMe page just to get out of the lawsuit.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give it all to you. But obviously you said, you felt like you wrote that off the back of hitting your lowest, right? And the period of that unraveling, because you were changing sort of your social environment and various other things. But what was that sort of like for you? Like, can you talk us through how you were feeling, the things that you were sort of had to look at within yourself, and I guess how you sort of came out the other side? And essentially I would imagine music would have been a huge part of that. I think I did read in an article somewhere that it was like music to you is like a medication. It helps you heal yourself and express yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Music's always been like that for me. And music has been there for me always. I will never be able to give back to music what it has given me. And I'm lucky that I've got other interests as far as things that really give me purpose and not even that, just give me like genuine happiness. But music is something that is so ingrained in what I do. It's just as easy for me to sing a song right now as it is to talk. It's just that, it's that effortless. It's the way I communicate with others. It's the way I communicate with myself. I don't feel like a bit of a peanut when I write, a soppy lyric or a really honest lyric, because that's art. Art is supposed to move you, and that's something that I'm continually trying to do. But When the Demons Come, that was a really interesting process, because I wanted it to feel like anxiety, because at the time I think that anxiety feeling in my stomach was there 24 hours a day for like at least 2 years. And I tried to suppress it with everything you can think. There's all the stuff that you shouldn't do. And I was so afraid all the time. I was so scared. I was scared of like, just most importantly, I was scared at the way that I felt about myself. I thought it was so scary that you could like, the people that I don't like the most in this world, there is no way that I would talk to them like I was talking to myself. So when I was writing When the Demons Come, I wanted to do because I was doing a bit of a search, being like, where's something that's gonna articulate the way I'm feeling, like with song. You know, I wanted these hectic drums. I wanted these like direct lyrics about demons because that's what I felt like they were. It was this like inner voice that was just relentless. And I was like, where is this song that I can play and play and play? And there wasn't one. It was all like, we're gonna get through this. You're gonna be okay. And I'm like, I don't feel okay, man. I don't feel anywhere near okay. I want to know. I want someone to tell me exactly what it feels like, and I want a musical representation of that. That's where I went. I'm going to make my own. I'm going to make my own fight song, but it's not going to be. You're going to be all right. It's going to be like, we have to fight this. You know, we're going to have to fight this feeling to become just at least stable. I wasn't aiming for happy at that point. I was just aiming for stable. So yeah, I started writing some pretty crazy lyrics, and that's, you know, there's really fast drum beat now. I wanted that to represent like a really strong heartbeat, and like your heart just keeps on getting like that anxiety, it's, you know, of just spiraling. You know, I felt like I was free falling all the time. And I could just be sitting at home doing nothing. And I was just like, why am I just like in this web of hatred for myself? And so I wrote, you know, like, do you hear them coming? Do you feel it in your bones? Like a rush of blood to your chest, and your head feels like a cannonball when your head's just going nuts. It's so heavy, you know. When the party is over, you know, but you tell me you want to stay. You know, when everyone's gone, you're still there. I close my eyes, I hold my breath, and I'm hoping that this all goes away. And then for the chorus, what I thought was the chorus, the music kind of stops, the drums stop, because I wanted it to be like this, like this beat, this heartbeat, this anxiety, this rushing to get somewhere, and then it's just like, stop. I'm tired of fighting who I am. That's the first line of the chorus. You know, to take the power back and breathe again.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing less you owe yourself. So when the demons come and they're just no fun, but I'll greet them anyway. It's kind of, it's positivity wrapped up in like fighting, because that's what I felt like it was. I felt like it was a fight, and it was going to be a fight, and it wasn't pretty most of the time. And that was that song for me. And when I put it out, I was like, I wanted to get in contact with like Beyond. I got in contact with like Beyond Blue. I got in contact with all these different organizations, because I kind of wanted the visual to represent the stuff you can't see. You know, it's not like a broken arm and people go, oh man, you know, I would have loved if people had have just assumed that there was so much going on in my mind and just treated me differently, or like, at least we're not like, we're kind, or, you know, because you want to be treated different when you're vulnerable. And so I was like, yeah, I'll get in touch with all these, you know, all these organizations and get people in a video clip and blah, 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 blah. And it's not going to be about me. And that was just a way of me trying to hide. It was just a way of me still hiding behind my art, rather than being like, hey, I'm struggling here. And even like I showed my parents that song, and they were like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, of course I am. It's just a song. And I remember I ended up getting knocked back by one of them, by one of the no, sorry, I didn't get knocked back. The pandemic happened. So this was 12 months before all the COVID stuff happened. And I didn't write another song in that time, in that 12 months. I only wrote one song that year, and that was that song. I couldn't write anything else, couldn't even think about anything else. Just thought about if I get this song out there, it'll alleviate some of this this energy that I'm holding. And then the pandemic happened, and I actually was going to get people in the film clip. And it was about a week, and I got in a room with a videographer, and I did a video. I did sort of a video as a test dummy to say of what I was thinking of having. When the pandemic happened, that was the only footage we had. So it forced me to go, either you wait however long this thing's going to last, or you do this crash dummy thing that you did, put it together, and you can't hide. This is all about you. And I did. That was the video clip that I released. The front cover is me with 2 empty chairs behind me, next to me. And because at that time it's like, yeah, I felt like it was so like coming from both sides. It wasn't an angel and a demon. It was just demons. And so I put it out. I called my mum and dad and I said, look, if you're not embarrassed of me that I'm going to put this out. And like, I'm crying and stuff, and I'm getting really emotional because I'm like, here, I'm basically telling my parents, I'm finally fessing up. I'm not doing okay. And I'm about to put something out there that is so up for scrutiny and people to go like, oh man, like if you're not okay, do we want to touch that, you know? But yeah, I called my parents, and, you know, especially my mum, you know, she was just like, you know, we're proud of whatever you do. You know, if this is what you need to do, then you do it. And I put it out, and it connected in a way that all my happy songs connect, but this was different. It was a different conversation I was having with people. It was like having a relationship with someone before you knowing them, because these people were attaching specific lyrics to something that they were going through. And the amount of blokes that messaged me, man, it was so, so amazing. People that I admire, people from my community, like tradies and stuff, and like, you know, guys that I would have loved to have had acceptance from when I was a kid, were messaging me going like, hey man, obviously if we can keep this between us, I've been going through X, Y, and Z, and it's nice to have a song that I get to like listen to on my way to work. And it was interesting because it was like all this positive stuff coming from a negative emotion that I was so, so, so scared about talking about, let alone putting out there and doing like a visual representation as well. So that song will always mean something to me, and will always be a real time capsule for that time and that feeling. And it's just like, oh yeah, I'm never going to forget what that was like, because I've immortalized it in that song. So yeah, I know I've gone on a bit of a tangent, but it's you know, that song in many ways saved my life. You know, I got to, and I don't say that lightly. You know, I truly mean that.
I think, you know, it's not only helped you save yours, as you said, but also, as you mentioned, there are a lot of people who really connected with it in a different way, because, you know, I think that anxiety and the feelings of sadness and depression and stuff are so common, but as you sort of alluded to, there's so many people that want it kept between themselves, or, you know, they brush it off maybe when they do attempt to reach out for help, and then someone goes, oh, you're right. They're like, yeah, like you did with releasing the song. Oh, it's just a song, mate. Like it's not how I actually feel. And so many of us are struggling to now be able to connect with your music and go, because people, especially blokes, we get angry at ourselves that we can't articulate how we feel. And because of that, we don't even attempt to speak. We just fucking bottle it up, become angry, aggressive, or resentful. And now that we've got, you know, songs like yours that can go, shit, that's exactly how I'm feeling right now. It's like, Taylor understands me, and there's more, the more we can learn to communicate, the more we'll all understand that we're in this together and the feelings are normal. It's just, we got to work through them and understand them.
So true. And it's really funny. I have a great example of that. I've got a twin brother, and he, when he was 21, went to rehab for 12 months, and exact same experience in our lives, but we went different ways. I'm sure we felt the same emotions, but I guess I had music and he maybe did not. And he has been in the recovery system for maybe 6 years, and thankfully he's recovered, and it's still a fight for him, but he's so articulate and can articulate exactly how he feels when it's happening and call it out, because he has those tools now. Unfortunately, they're not just given to you, which I would have very much appreciated if they were just handed to me on a silver platter. But I remember showing someone that song, one of my really good friends, a pretty good friend, and he turns around and he goes, "Oh, is that about your brother?" And I thought, I don't have the skill set to articulate that I'm struggling. How the hell are you supposed to know that I'm struggling? Even if I've just shown you a song called "When the Demons Come," I'm too tired of fighting who I am. There's all these lyrics, and it's going like, you've never spoken about it with us. You've never said that you're ever struggling. And here I am still here I am thinking I'm putting my balls in the line, going like, man, but I'm still masking what I'm actually trying to say. Even someone that has known me for 15 years goes, "Oh man, that must be about your brother, because you don't have any problems, because we've never even spoken about that." That's when I was like, holy shit, am I that closed off that even like my really good mates wouldn't believe that I was going through this crap? Now at that time, I had like a pump bottle of like alcohol next to my bed, just in case I had like a little bit of like a bit of a moment. I could just reach for it and just alleviate a bit of that energy. And here's someone saying to me, "Oh, is that about your brother?" And I'm going, and I felt it was a slap in the face at the time, because I put so much into this song. But essentially, what I was doing still was not addressing what I was really trying to say, and that's, I don't think I'm okay.
Why do you think you did struggle with it? Because I think, we've got great awareness campaigns and days like Are You Okay being obviously one of the probably biggest. Yet, as you mentioned, your brother has the tools to understand himself and articulate himself really well, but majority of us don't. And whether it's the individual struggling or it's the mate who may have mates who are struggling, we lack that, the skills or the ability to pick up on emotional mood swings or just know when your mates aren't right. So how would, for you, maybe you have liked your mates to, for someone listening in the future who I can't give an example, but maybe just to check in with your mates, like what would you like to see some things moving forward that people could just start developing? Because these are all skills that we aren't taught, unfortunately. The ability to communicate and articulate ourselves, check in on our mates. We do it from a surface level, but to genuinely give a shit, and tying that back into what you said earlier, you'd much rather have 5 people at your funeral who, you truly connected with, and 1,000 people who you maybe, they knew your name and they said, "Oh, what a top bloke," but they didn't really understand you or care on that deeper level.
You know what? I think that, it definitely has to be a two-way street. Like, what I would have liked at the time probably is I felt very selfish. I look back on that time and I was very selfish, because I was like, it's all about me, it's all about my problems, and it's all about this. But it's like I didn't give any of my mates the opportunity to help. There was one mate that I had, and he's more like a brother, to be completely honest. And in those 2 years, we spoke every day on the phone. Now that's very excessive, but I could say anything to him, and he never judged me. He never pointed a finger or said, "Oh, man, it's about time we wrap this up now. Like, we've been talking about this for 2 years. Like, can we talk about something else?" Never that. Just listened, And it's so easy. It's so easy to sort of go into situations with a shield of like, I'm going to help you. It was like me going into When the Demons Come, going like, I'm going to put this out because it's going to help others. It's great to hide behind that shield, I think, because we're going in with a little bit of righteousness, going like, well, I know what it feels like now, and I'm going to help people. What about helping yourself? There is no shield. You take your hands off the wheel. It's easier to go into battle going, yeah, we're doing it for the greater good, rather than doing it for yourself. It's like when people talk about when they have kids and, they go like, I would do anything for my child, or I'd do anything for my partner. But it's just like, would you do anything for yourself? I don't reckon you would. Why do people eat crap food? And I'll eat Macca's. I'll see my mum eating Macca's going, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You should be eating a salad. 10 minutes ago, I'm sitting there with a Big Mac going, this is amazing. I think it's easier to be there and look after and be aware of other people's situation with that righteousness, rather than be like, I didn't, for those 2 years, I don't reckon I went to the gym. I don't think I looked after myself at all. I actually think I tried to self-destruct. Now, if that was my partner, I would do everything in my power to make sure that they didn't do that. Why is it okay for me to self-destruct and not really care? So I hope that's answered your question, because that was something that was really apparent to me. It's just like I would fight tooth and nail for my mates, but I barely want to lift a finger for myself.
That's such a crucial point, and something that I hope the listeners understand. It's exactly that. You said you weren't, going to the gym. You probably weren't eating well. You weren't doing the things to get yourself back to, or put yourself in a position to be happy with yourself. Like it's very easy to just constantly be looking after others. But it's like I said before, if you don't care for others, it's hard to care. So if you don't care for yourself, it's hard to, really truly care for others in the long run, because you're going to burn yourself out. But I've got one last question for you. And the context is obviously, or the question is, what is your definition of being a man? And the context behind that is that I love to, there are the generalized or societal norms of what that is. And for a lot of people, it doesn't align, right? There's so much self-destruction going on because we're trying to live into this stereotype of what it means to be a man. But I love hearing from individuals what it means for you, because there are people out there who are going to resonate with your story, Taylor, and your definition around it, or what you strive to be, who will go, fuck yeah, I'm not alone. Like, I can definitely relate to that. So I'd love to hear that from you.
That's really, really funny that you asked me that question, because I've literally got a song that I'm going to record on my next project called "What Does It Mean to Be a Man These Days."
Sweet. Might be the new theme song of the Man That Can project.
And it's like, and it was kind of a story about it's kind of loosely based on my dad's experience and his life.
Yep.
His dad was a farmer in a little town called Donald, And he ended up taking his own life when my dad was 6. And he left my grandma with 5 sons. And like my old man grew up like, I mean, and you don't really know until you're older, and you don't know why, like he was really hard on us growing up, and probably harder on himself, to be completely honest. But he was trying to be this, knowing the story of especially my dad's life, trying to be so strong to mask what happened with his dad was kind of, I think genuinely, I think if my dad had his time over again, he would have been more emotional with us. He sort of raised us like, you've got to be like, life is going to throw some curveballs at you, and you've got to be strong enough to do it. Not resilient though, strong, not resilient. There was a big difference. So growing up, I just thought all you did was work. Little did I know that the poor guy was probably working so much to outrun his own demons.
Mm.
I thought a man literally just worked, and even when I was sitting down on the couch, like that's just a waste of time. Like, just be so closed off to anything. Like, I thought, like, I saw my dad once hit his hand with a hammer, and he didn't flinch, and the nail like bent off. And I was like, and I asked him, I was like, why don't you cry? Like, why aren't you crying?
Give me some.
And he said, he goes, I'm too old to cry. And I always remember that. And I remember thinking, that's pretty cool that you get to a certain age and you stop crying. That's pretty cool.
Superhero.
Yeah, like it's as like a superpower. And I really, really, really wanted to be that guy. I really wanted to be a kid I really wanted to be like a dad and a man that like nothing fazed you. Like you never really had the highs, the lows. It was just kind of like you were just doing it, All that has changed. All that has changed for me in especially the last decade, living out of home, going through your own ups and downs. What do I think it means to be a man these days? Man, I think it is so more important to be able to handle that inner pain, that physical pain, seeing my dad with his finger off and saying like, I'm too old to cry. Like, it's kind of implying that, you're too tough. Life has toughened you. Life has really dealt you these cards, and you've just sort of gone with it. And it's just like, if you can't feel the pain, can you feel the good stuff too?
Mm.
I know that I want to be a man that is really open to the highs, the lows, the in-betweens. I want to be a great dad one day. I want to be able to access these emotions and hopefully part a little bit of wisdom onto them. Because I couldn't talk about that with my own dad. And the answer to that is he could not do that to his own dad. And turns out his dad, who took his own life, had depression, but they didn't talk about it then. And they all said that he died of like, I think it was cancer or a heart attack or something. At what point generationally does that not become okay anymore?
Mm.
I think one of the strongest people in my life is my mum. Now, she cries every day about nothing. She loves unconditionally. Strength has changed in my view. Strength is not about hitting a hammer on your finger and not being able to feel it. Strength is about accessing those feelings and dealing with them when it's happening, because that's when I feel the strongest. And that's when I feel like a man. And then I get to be a man to my girl. I get to be a man to my mates. I get to like not have to cower when I'm actually dealing with the shit that is going on with your life. That's what I think it takes to be a man these days.
That's awesome, mate. Thanks for sharing that. And finally, where can people find you? Obviously, all your music, social platforms, websites, all that sort of stuff to stay in touch with you.
Yeah, definitely. You can check me out on Facebook and Instagram, and I'm on Spotify and iTunes. And my name is Taylor Sheridan. It's all under Taylor Sheridan Music. And I'm just going to keep, and that's also an important thing. Like, I'm so lucky that I get to do what I do. I get to have my passion as a career. But it doesn't make me not susceptible to the shit stuff as well. So, which is important to know as well. So, man, I've really got to say thank you for this chat today. It's so nice to talk to someone like, the positive vibes that you put out with all the stuff that you're doing at the moment. I don't have the same six pack as you, but look, we've all got to aim towards something. But yeah, I feel like this stuff is really important. So, man, good for you. And you're a great guy, and this has been really cool.
Mate, I appreciate your time and your honesty, mate. It's, as you spoke about earlier, it is hard to open up and talk about what's really going on, but you're leading the way with that, and the music that you're putting out is incredible. And as you mentioned, people are connecting with it, and we need that more than ever now, because with the way the statistics are going, that's what we need. But thanks again for your time, mate, and I look forward to following the continued success.
My pleasure, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Man That Can Project podcast. My name is Lachlan Stuart, and I hope you enjoyed this episode and found it helpful. If you did, please take a moment to rate and review the Man That Can Project on your favorite podcast platform. And don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with our newest episodes. We'll see you again next time.